There we are. Okay, so welcome, Dania,
Thank you very
our
much.
our ex student and the man of the hour. We're very happy to see you again. It's been, what is it now? Is it a year since you left us, or
Yep, a year.
yeah,
I think a year and 3 months. Yeah,
something like that? Yeah, and I remember you and I did a little bit of pair programming together at some point, but other than that, we
yeah,
only follow each other on Instagram and
yeah.
various social media. So I keep track of your lovely family. I think your kid is one of the cutest ones I ever seen, apart from my own kids, of course.
Thanks.
You know how that is. So it's lovely to have you with us, and I've been following your progress, and I think that your story, what's been going on with you after the camp, is an
Yeah.
interesting and an inspiring story, and that's why me and Sophie asked you to set up this session, and so that you could tell us a little bit about what's been going on, and uh, we invited our current students, our seniors, and some juniors to hear your story, because we think that it could have a great impact on their own lives and careers and set their priorities straight. You know how it is
Yeah.
during the
Yeah.
camp. You kind of
Hmm.
forget about the outside world,
Yeah.
and having that feedback is valuable. So I was thinking that you could tell us a little bit. I can ask you a few questions. You can tell us a little bit of your story, and then we can have a little bit of a Q&A with the guys and girls if they want to ask you for any questions.
Right.
Is that cool with you?
Sure. Perfect. It's perfect.
All right. So I know, Danya, that you went through a very extensive and long process with Amazon, and
Yeah.
I understand that you signed an NDA, so you're not allowed to talk about everything in that went on in that process. But uh, A, tell us what you can, and B, tell us about your experience. Like, how did it make you feel, and in what way did Craft Academy had an impact on your performance during that process? So that's
Right.
one thing I would like you to talk about if possible. And the second thing is, of course, because you did land another, a job and stuff like that. So tell us a little bit about what you're currently doing and working with, please. All right?
Right. All right. Thanks a lot, Thomas, for this opportunity. Hi, guys. I am Dania. I'm an ex-student of Craft Academy. I was part of the April 2017 cohort. I was in the South Africa campus. Yeah, I'd say the entire boot camp thing practically changed a whole lot about my career path. A little bit about my background before I joined Craft Academy. I was basically, I was like a network engineer doing more of IT infrastructure kind of thing before I decided to. Then I started playing around with some web stuffs, e-commerce things, and then I decided, you know what, I really want to face this full time and just switch my career path from the network thing to software development and all that. So that's the reason why I joined Craft Academy. And I would say after Craft Academy, it was a whole lot. To be honest, it's been a long ride. It's been a long ride, and it's been everyday learning, experiencing different things, and a whole lot has practically changed about the things I know right now. So basically, I'll tell you this before Craft Academy, whenever I visited the career sites of companies like AWS and the likes, I get really scared. I get really put off that. Geez, can I acquire these skills that they need to get this job and all that? But so after boot camp, there were certain messages, there was certain information that Thomas and Raul then kept saying to us during boot camp, and it was basically, after boot camp, don't just go back and sit down waiting for a software job to come. You need to continue practicing all you learned in the boot camp. So when I returned back to my home country, I left my previous job as a network guy, and I joined a smaller startup to do more of web. And there I was working on some Ruby stuff, and I had to learn PHP. So along the line, I was doing some AWS, working with AWS thing like the CI, CD thing, and all that, and that really helped, my skills. And all of a sudden, I just got a message from the AWS recruitment team. The message went like, "Hey, we find interesting your learnings and experience from the boot camp you attended with Crafts Academy." Then they went on asking questions about, did I get to do, test-driven development, things like continuous integration, continuous deployment, and I said yes. Those were part of our curriculum at Crafts Academy, and I am quite confident with it. And after Crafts Academy, I've been working with these things, so I think I can go through your job interview. That was my response to them, and that kick-started the entire process with AWS. It was the entire recruitment process took about 5 months. I started the process from January 2018 all till May. I had the first stage interview. The first stage interview with AWS basically focused on things that had to do with, continuous integration, continuous deployment, and test-driven development. That was the first stage. Then the second stage went on to actual writing scripts, and all that. That was the second stage of the interview with AWS. And then the third stage, which I call the bone breaking stage, I met with about 10 managers who interviewed me. It was about 8 hours interview. Started at 8 a.m. in the morning, went all the way till 3 p.m. thereabout, and they practically covered everything I said I did at Craft Academy. We started with, going through codes, then we went to GitHub, and geez, we practically spent over 30 to 35 minutes, on GitHub, how to do several things. And I think one of the things that intrigued them about my GitHub parts was while I was at Craft Academy, there was a certain word we always use. I don't know if you can remember this, Thomas. It's called Gitpong.
Gitpong, yeah.
So Gitpong, yeah. So I basically use this kind of technologies with them, and they found it quite interesting that, oh, okay, so you guys are actually into GitHub. And then we did a bit of DevOps. We touched Docker containers. We talked about Terraform, Parker. Some of you might not know about some of these things right now, but once you go deeper into development and deploying your code base and all that, we come across so many of all these things. So we touch a lot around these areas, and then that was more. Then the fourth stage, I would say the fourth stage was the parts where I got knocked out, and that part had to do, that part had to do with database. Throughout, I had an interview section with database, and we focused on Postgres database, big time Postgres, because AWS said most of their customers, use Postgres. So we focused heavily on Postgres, MySQL, and I think the part that threw me off was Oracle. I had an Oracle specialist interview me, and it didn't go quite well. And there's a certain policy with AWS. If 14 people should interview you and one person has a problem with the areas he interviewed you on, unfortunately, you might not be able to go. You will not go through.
Wow.
It's very, very stiff process. But I felt really bad. I must say, I was almost depressed because I put in a whole lot of work, studying a whole lot of materials, trying to work on codes. But I think the comforting thing AWS said to me was that they find it interesting that I just joined the boot camp in 2017, and I was able to get to the final stage, of the interview and all the knowledge I shared with them. And they find me to be a typical Amazonian. So they call those who work at AWS Amazonians. And they said to me that we think you are a typical Amazonian, and we would want you to come back in 6 months' time for us to reevaluate it. So the email sent to me practically touched areas I needed to improve on. They told me focus on these key areas, so the next time you're coming back to us, you can knock it out. So I plan to still go back to AWS, but I recently joined a company called Aurea. It's in Texas. They basically what they do is they go around the continent, the world, looking for successful startups to buy. And right now they bought about 45 startups. They buy different technology companies. So today you can find yourself working with 3 companies, but under the same umbrella. group, who owns the company. So basically, what we do is we buy a new company, we go through their code base, we check their technology stack, we look for problems, and everyone starts going into code cleanup. So you do a whole lot of code cleanup for the test coverage. Right now, I'm currently on a project where we're using Ruby, Node.js, and the way the company operates is you must have at least 90% code like test coverage. So we're heavy on Cucumber, we're heavy on RSpec, we're using all of these things for our code base, and we're also working on Node.js. I didn't work on Node.js, but during the bootcamp, but after the bootcamp, it wasn't really difficult, picking up Node.js. It was about just studying it, reading the books, taking the videos, and yeah, so I would say Aria was also a difficult step getting into Aria. I wrote a 7 hours test with
Okay.
Aria. I think I almost gave up. I almost gave up because it was frustrating,
Mhm.
asking you to write code, different things, AWS, lambdas, so many things. But I managed to pull through. I was successful with the test, and then came the series of interviews again. And during my interview, I had loads of questions on Ruby, on Rails especially. Questions around scope, models, controllers, how to do certain things. I'd say it was an interesting process. And to be honest, the entire process with AWS and Aria kind of gave me some level of confidence, and it got me exposed to other areas of software development that I really need to look into and grow my strengths in. So it's been an awesome experience. Right now, I work as a Ruby and JavaScript software engineer with Aria. I am in the engineering maintenance team. Basically, what we do is I'm assigned to two companies. When bugs are reported, when defects are reported, you are given like a 24 to 48 hours time frame to resolve the bug. When you're done resolving the bug, you test it in QA environment. Once you're done testing in QA, you test it in staging. Once you're done testing and staging, then a release note. You have to create a release note to deploy to production. Yeah, then sometimes we get requests from customers who say things like, we want this feature, we want that feature, and then we work on it. I don't know if anyone knows about Engineered. Engineered is also one product I'm assigned to. So it's honestly, I would say when I initially joined the team, it was kind of scary for me because I am working with people whose titles are chiefs, Ruby architects, big positions, guys who have spent like some 15 years. But the comforting thing was they said to me that, dude, forget the fact that we've spent 10 years, 15 years. I think there's this thing called, there's this syndrome. I don't know what, I can't remember.
The imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome. Yes. I don't know. I suffered it. I tell you, I kept asking myself, are you sure you can do this? Are you sure you can do this? But I just, put that aside and I started working, trying to get my groove on. And I think so far it's been really good. Initially, when we started on some of the projects, we were about 3 in my department. Right now, I'm the only one in my department handling 3 companies. The rest of my colleagues have been shipped out to other companies. So that's kind of like a sign to me that I'm not doing bad, after all. And I think basically what I just do is continuous improvement, man. Learning things every day, practicing things every day. On the side, I have 1 or 2 applications I'm building for people. Since Thomas, honestly, it's been a wonderful experience, I must say. And trust me when I say every single thing, every little thing we learned during the boot camp is what I am currently using on the job right now as I speak to you, and that has really helped me a great deal.
Oh, thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much. That's a fantastic story. I can't even express how much it means to me personally to hear you say those things. You're very generous. I'm very happy for that. You did do all the heavy lifting, the things that me and Raul and the other coaches back then, Amber. I think you had Amber, right?
Yeah, Amber.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we did, we paved the way for you. You did the heavy lifting, and so are these guys that are listening to you. Uh, Just a follow-up question. Like 5 months, man. That's a thriller. Right? You know, it's
Yeah.
and to I remember when you wrote to me and said that you didn't get it. I remember how, you know, you were devastated. We were all devastated. But uh, in hindsight, I mean, as you said, making it to the end. I mean, you were one of the few guys left
Yeah.
to choose from, uh, and also from what I gather from your story, but also what I heard from other sources, their process is extremely tough. It's one of the
Tough. Very tough.
toughest
Yes.
processes out there. Yeah. So if you compare the AVS process to the company that you're working with today, was it? I mean, it was not equally hard, but it was still a tough process, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It was still a tough process. I was interviewed by 6 different managers with the current company I work with.
Hmm.
I would say the only difference was that the managers did not go too in depth like AWS. So during my interview at AWS, I was given a gigantic whiteboard, a big whiteboard. I practically stood, and when they ask you a question,
Hmm.
the moment you give the solution to the question, that one solution you give to their question will bring up 30 more questions.
Okay.
So, they keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. They'll ask you to draw things, draw like your architecture, draw how these things work, how does this operate. We need you to illustrate this. So I think AWS was more like a deep dive interview.
Mm-hmm. All right, so these two are very big and professional, like, you know, the big companies. But tell me a little bit about the first company, the startup that you joined. In what way could you map the things that we did here at Craft with this agile approach and the Git flow and every other thing to that first job? Because it's a huge difference between, from what I gather from your first assignment to
Yeah.
those big corporations where you ended up at the end.
Right. Yeah. So let me talk about the first. When I joined Oria, the first company I was asked to work with,
Mhm.
the technology stack is more Ruby, Node.js and all that. And let me tell you a little bit about the process with the company I joined. So back at Craft Academy, we learned things like going from your backlogs, your epics, creating things in Pivotal Tracker. Well, we don't use Pivotal Tracker. We use Jira, and
Mhm.
so but it kind of the same thing. You're moving things between boards and all that. So the process of creating your epics, your backlog in Pivotal Tracker, you start working on these things, you put your updates and all of that thing. All of that process is exactly the same process which I'm currently going through. I went through the first product I joined.
Mhm.
Um, you'll be asked to whenever there's a problem or there's a feature to work on, you create your backlog, and when you start working, you move that to in progress. When you're done, you say completed, and for everything you create, I remember you always said this thing, Thomas, that whatever code you write, make sure you have a test covering it. The same thing is applicable here as well. Whatever code you're pushing up to be reviewed, make sure you have your test cases, accompanied with it. And there's also something that's heavily focused on. To the current students, I don't know if you heard of what they call code smells. Code
Yeah, yeah,
smells,
Postman's,
yeah.
yeah.
So it's heavy. We have should I say a Bible? We have a Bible of code smells that you must read before you start the job. Before you push up your pull request to GitHub, you must read through the code smell Bible to
Hmm.
confirm that I hope the code I just wrote is not badly structured. And once, so after I read that Bible, I had to go read a certain book on refactoring your code
Hmm.
and different coding styles and design patterns
Hmm.
that should be followed when writing code. I had to learn some of these things. So um, yeah, I would say practically everything
Awesome,
from
awesome.
CA.
And so one final question from me before we get the guys in. How are these this like you said that you suffered a little bit from this imposter syndrome? I think we all do. I've done it, and I sometimes still do. Uh, but how are the people towards you as a quote unquote junior or new at the company? Like, do they have a mentorship program, like something structured, or are they just being nice to you?
So the way it works is this. The guys will tell you something. The senior guys I work with will tell you something that, dude, trust me, there's some things you know better than us that we don't even know. And I got to realize this when, you know, so when I initially joined the company, every single person, from the chief software architect to the software managers, we all had a knowledge transfer section for 3 months where the legacy company, the company we bought, had all their senior engineers train us on their code base, the infrastructure, and everything. And after the 3 months training, it's left for you to start, fixing issues. And these guys would come back to say, dude, we need your help. Initially the first 2 weeks after we started going deep into the code base, they'll reach out and say, dude, we need your help, your thought process in fixing this issue. And sometimes I go like, whoa, like, really? Me? What can I do for you guys? But then they come back to say, hey guy, trust me, we could be forget the title, man. You're reading things, you're learning newer things than we are. So, and whenever I'm stuck, all I just do is, hey guys, I think I'm stuck with this problem. Could you please assist out? And immediately we start a go-to meeting section or a Google Meet section, and then they start walking you through the problem, recommending solutions for you and guiding your steps. So I'd say we don't have like a structure where you're constantly trained. After the initial 3 months training, you start working full time with all of these engineers. And whenever you're stuck, we have people in certain areas who are experts. We have experts in JavaScript. We have experts in Ruby. You just reach out to the right resource and tell them your problems, and they will definitely guide you on how to fix it.
Awesome. All right, Dan, thank you. Guys, have you prepared any questions, any reactions to what Daniel just told you? Stockholm's, Noel?
I have a question about your working tempo. You work quite intensely during the course.
Yeah.
Would you compare it to how you work today? Are you as efficient as you were during the course, or is the tempo lower?
Nope, it's not lower. I think it's not lower at all. It's practically, so check this out. So for every bug during the boot camp, we're loaded with so many things. You had to be working. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if Thomas knew this, but at some point during the boot camp, I actually hit the wall where I cried because the pressure was too much on me. I think at some point Thomas also realized that the pressure was too much, and then I was advised to slow down a little bit. But coming out to the real world, the tempo is not lower because. So a little tip: imagine, I don't know if you heard of websites, e-commerce platforms like JCPenney, Walmart, and all of these guys. They are customers, in the company where I work, and these guys are constantly asking for new features. They ask for new features. You are given 3 days SLA to fix the feature. Otherwise, if you fail the SLA, it affects your productivity. So most times I find myself going 12, 15 hours daily, trying to learn things so that I can fix problems. So to be honest, the tempo is not low at all.
That's encouraging. That's encouraging. Is that the answer you were hoping for, Eric, or were you hoping for something else?
I'm working hard, so that's what how it should be done.
Okay, all right. Anybody else in Stockholm? Do you have any questions for Dania? Was it worth it, Dania? Is the change, like if you look back before you joined the camp in that environment that you were in, both personally, professionally, or family wise, and now if you fast forward 2 years, I understand that your life has changed. Was it worth it?
500%, yes. Yes. I always say to my folks over here that I think one of my best decisions of 2017 was stepping away from my previous job to join the boot camp. And I'll be honest with you, Thomas. Right now, as I speak to you, there are about 2 or 3 companies that I've worked with our company who are asking for me to come through their interview process again. And the offers are coming, and interviews, job offers and all that. So right now, it's now left to me to say, you know what, guys, I don't want to join you. I want to focus on this other company. Um, before the boot camp, that was not the case, because you would agree with me that everyone is practically right now. Companies are not really hiring network managers, network engineers, and IT infrastructure guys, because everything is in the cloud. People are no more building data centers, buying Cisco routers, and all that. Everyone, like right now. So the company I work with, imagine a company with 45 other companies and 5,000 staff strength. 90% of us working remotely, 100% of our IT infrastructure all reside in the cloud, AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, no physical infrastructure. So really, what no company would want to really employ someone, network and all that. They would rather employ a DevOps engineer who can manage this cloud infrastructure. So really, I think that move has been one of the best in my life.
All right, thank you. Noel?
I was just wondering, is there any when you said when you finished the course you to learn Node.js?
Yeah.
I was just wondering, is there any languages or any materials or books or guides or practices that you'd recommend that we do after the course, just to further our education a bit?
Okay. So what I did was, when I had to study Node.js, I don't know if anyone has heard of lynda.com. So I registered for some paid subscription on Lynda and Pluralsight, lynda.com, pluralsight.com. Those two resources, I registered there. Then I bought a course from Wes Boss. There's a guy called Wes Boss who's a JavaScript, guy. I got a course from him to learn these things. I took the trainings, got the book. I got a book and read through, and started trying to put up an application in Express. So Express framework uses Node.js. So I think the better way to learning is, once you're done, taking the videos, reading the books, try to quickly look for a small application that you can, spring up. There are loads of resources, but the ones I, used was lynda.com, Pluralsight, and Westboss. Then there's also something I did after the boot camp was, I had to look for some books on Ruby, meta programming in Ruby, and some other Ruby books to read deeper, into the whole Ruby stuff. And yeah.
Like more like meta functional programming, and then science.
Yeah.
We don't cover in the curriculum. Yeah. So I have a follow up on that question of Noel's. Like, if you would like, when you were out there looking for resources to look into Node.js, I understand that you look into Express. We do a little bit of sales, which is like more of a framework with an ORM and stuff like that. How about testing? Like, because in Ruby world and Rails world, testing is fully integrated from start. Like, we practice this agile approach, and the TDD and BDD processes are fully integrated. Now, there's a different culture in Node world or JS world. And how did you? Now, when you work on JS based code bases or projects where you use a lot of Node or JavaScript, are you still testing? What is the approach there?
So the approach for testing there is, for the JavaScript environment framework that we work on, we use a certain test framework called Chai, CHAI. To be honest, I'd never used it. It was initially difficult picking it up, but what I basically did was, I think the good thing that helped me was going through. I took about a month going through the existing code base, trying to see how the existing tests were structured, how they were written, and based on that, I was able to pick up one or two approaches to writing my own test, in Chai. So yes, definitely. Like I said earlier, whatever code you write with this company, if it doesn't have a test case, it never gets approved.
Okay. So I think we use Chai and Mocha. We look into sign-on and some other things. Like in JavaScript world, things are a little more fragmented. In the Rails world, it's much more straightforward. You put in your Cucumber and
Yeah.
every dependency just follows through.
Yeah.
All right, awesome, cool. Um, like working with others and communication and stuff. I understand that you work fully remotely
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Now, the things that we practice, the fact that you were attending the camp from South Africa, had that had an impact on your work today? Like, did it prepare you to join a remote team?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yes, it did. It did. So I'll tell you the area, of Craft Academy that prepared me. Now, at Craft Academy, I don't know if it's still happening. We used to have this Scrum thing where every morning we have our Scrum, in the afternoon we have Scrum as well. And the thing about those Scrum section is before you go into a Scrum, you want to make sure you have an update. You don't want to have your Scrums giving excuses and blah blah blabbing about how this is not working, but you want to have real updates. So the same thing is what I currently have right now. I have check-in Scrum, and then I have what do you call it, follow-up update Scrum with the vice president of technology in my company. So you don't want to go to a Scrum with the vice president and is asking you what is an update on this, and you're blabbing, all about and all that. So on a daily basis, I have about 3 Scrum sections. With first Scrum is with my team and some other managers. Second Scrum is with developers from several other teams, with the vice presidents and the sales guys, the client executives. Everyone, we all come together. The third section, we also get to have Scrum with some other senior developers, where you tell them your problems, you share your blockers, what are your blockers, and then they recommend a solution to you for you to move forward. So all that experience from CA, helped me in getting used to that tradition in this company. So right now, I practically always under pressure, because I want to make sure before a Scrum, I have real good updates that will not allow any of my superiors to ask me like, dude, really? And all that. So yeah.
You don't want to be put on the spot. I understand that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We do a little bit of blabbling still at Craft Academy, but I think we've all been guilty to that. Tell me if I'm wrong, students. I'm not wrong. No, I'm not. But yeah, we practice that. We practice that a lot. Any other questions? Any juniors or seniors?
So I have a question.
Go ahead.
What?
Hey, Faraz.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, man.
Like looking back at your time at Craft Academy, what do you think that you should have done differently? Right? What should you have focused more on, or like, yeah, your experience?
Really, I would say there's really nothing for me to say I should have focused more on this, because see, this is the thing. You can never learn everything during the boot camp. You can never learn everything. The boot camp is more like, should I say, like a binoculars. It gives you further sight to be able to see other things out there. So if I had said that, during the boot camp, I wish I had learned or focused on Node.js, and then you come out and you're struggling with, and you see a new project you want to join that is not Node.js, you start struggling. So rather focus on understanding and learning more, understanding the actual coding concept, coding styles, how to structure your algorithms and all that. Focus more on that, because when you come out to the real world, the question will be, do you understand, these algorithms? Do you understand how this is structured? So a typical example right now is I've learned that so I have no regrets or anything about, oh, geez, I should have focused more on this during the boot camp. No way, man. The boot camp was just about 3 or 4 months. And the things out there, trust me, you cannot even finish learning in 5 years or 6 years. You just keep learning every time. So look at this right now. We just acquired a new company that requires using Perl, P-E-R-L, Perl. And my manager reached out to me that, Daniel, we're going to be assigning you to the new company as well. And the technology stack is Perl and Java. So we're giving you 2 weeks to get to learn Perl, and additional 1 week to get on Java. So I haven't so it's been crazy,
That's the way you do it. That's more crazy than the boot camp, right? I mean, all right. And how did you tackle that? I mean, learning Java, you haven't written about Java before, and Perl is not that tough, but Java is a tough thing as well.
So after the bootcamp, I joined a program with Udacity to learn a bit of Android development in Java. So I
Okay.
got a little bit exposed to Java, but I think I ran away, man. Java is quite tough. I don't know. It's not as easy as writing maybe JavaScript, Ruby, or Python, or one of those codes. But I said to my manager that it might take me a little while to get used to this Java thing. So he just advised that, okay, you know what? Since we have an expert on Java, let that guy focus on Java while you focus on Perl.
Okay.
Perl is also another. It's should I say syntactic sugar kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's quite easy to learn as well. So right now, my current target right now is before the end of next week, I should be able to start coding in Perl for the new projects.
So basically, what you're saying is that languages doesn't matter, concepts does.
Yeah, concepts does. Understanding data structures. I don't know if so. I had to go to get certain books on data structures. I think apart from all the tests I wrote, because most of these technology companies they'll give you tests to write. You need to write tests, coding tests, and during the test they say something. We don't care about the language you use. We're only concerned about how you write your code, your coding style, your coding structure. That is all we want to see. So I would strongly advise everyone to try to get a book on maybe data structures and algorithms. Coursera, EDX, they offer amazing courses, specialization courses on data structures and algorithms. I am still learning it. It's very good for those who do not have a computer science background because once you're able to learn these algorithms really well and coding patterns, trust me, if they wake you up tomorrow and tell you we're giving you 48 hours deadline to start coding in Python, as long as you know how to write good algorithms, you will definitely do it.
Feel free to interrupt me, students, if you want to ask questions. I have another question that we focus a lot on business objectives and understanding the underlying business of our clients, because that will, in my way of looking at the world, that will help me build better software and provide better services. Now, in your current setting, Dania, what I understand is you can switch companies to work with, and they do work in different business areas, and they have different business cultures, and you being fully remote, you cannot you can do the hallway politics or hallway drinking coffee and chat. In how much did that thing that we did at Craft Academy and what your experience afterward, how important is that you understand the underlying business and culture and communication in your day-to-day operations?
I would say so. Currently, the way we operated back at CA during the boot camp, where you're all working remotely, but at the same time everyone is communicating. You understand business objective. You understand what needs to get done. It feels more like the the structure we had at CA. It was as if the company I work for right now practically came to CA to say, "Hey guys, let us see what you guys have in place because we want to implement it here." So the same culture, the same thing is what we have right now with this company. Everyone. So imagine out of 5,000 staff, out of which 80% are software engineers. Everyone working remotely. However, we have few on-ground sales guys across the United States, reaching out to the clients and all of these things. They go out there, they speak to the customer, they come back with the customer's objective, the requirement, and then we go back to our board. We try to understand if we release this feature, what business benefits is it going to give to us? Does it mean increased revenue, or does it mean just having a nice feature? All of that thing. I remember, back at CA, you used to say something, Thomas, that start lean, focus on important features that will add real good value to the products, things that would affect either the revenue or the usability of the product, focus on those things. So it's almost the same structure we do. We get loads of feature requests. We get loads of feature requests from the sales guys, but we never implement everything immediately. We always go back to our table and we do the estimation thing. In Pivot Tracker, we used to do estimation point. So the same approach goes here as well. We evaluate it with certain vice presidents. Everyone is evaluating how much impact this will have on the business. If it's going to have a good impact, we go into development and we start working. Otherwise, we let it sit down there until someone is less busy, to work on this thing.
All right, cool. We're gonna start to round up. Dania, any advice? Because the guys listening to you and the girls listening to you now, they are seniors. They are in week 8. So we're doing race weeks for them, and we have some prep course students with us today. If you were to give advice for the last stretch for the seniors, like the last 5 weeks, but also a piece of advice for the preppers, because they are about to start the journey in the camps, and they have still 3 months to go. Right?
Okay, so my advice to the seniors, I think to everyone actually, the first thing you need to watch out for, the imposter syndrome. Be aware of it. Do not deny that. Do not deny that you're not going through it. Trust me, as a software developer, you will go through that phase. Be very careful and do not let it weigh you down. Do not let you believe you're not capable of doing anything out there. Trust me, as long as you're joining the boot camp, for you to go through the start to the end of the boot camp without falling out, trust me, you can actually cope and you can actually strive out there when you get to the real world. Believe completely in yourself. You see, the guys who have spent 15 years started one day. They started some time ago. So now that you've started now, it's just a matter of time. You will see yourself, writing codes, closing your eyes and writing amazing codes. So believe greatly in yourself. And then for the seniors, once you come out of the boot camp, please, you could take a 1 or 2 weeks break to relax from the pressure, from the stress, but immediately go back to your code. Because you're not an expert, because you're not yet a professional, you are still in the baby phase where you still need, to keep learning. Make sure you continue to learn. Just develop something, write something. Do not get scared. Write an application. Try to do something. And for the preppers just joining, as you take on your prep course, I think the mistake I made during my prep period was that I was learning the various, taking up trainings, I was reading books, but a part of me was scared to try to code on my own. So it was difficult. I was just scared to say, after reading stuff about classes, after reading stuff about modules, let me try to develop something using the same concept. I was scared to do that. For some reason, I have no idea why I was scared, but really I should have taken the step to do that. So for the preppers, as you take up the courses, the entry courses for CA, immediately try to start getting your hands dirty. You will not realize this, but when you make mistakes, nobody's going to hit you. Nobody's going to yell at you. You make the mistakes, you learn, and you keep moving forward. I think that's basically just really believe in yourself. Do not let the really experienced guys intimidate you. You will become very experienced someday.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dania. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your story. I, for myself, are reassured that things that we do are good things. Yeah. So you gave me a lot of energy. I hope that you guys also feel that Dania's story was inspiring and that you are filled with more energy for the last stretch, for the seniors, and of course for the preppers, that you can see what you can become. And I mean, you're an extremely passionate guy, Dania, and I love that. And I always enjoyed it. You always put in a lot of work, and it really comes across how much you love what you do. And I think passion, your passion especially, is the key to your success. So I would also want to send that off with our students. Like, if you can muster a fraction of the passion that Dania has, you will be fine as well. And if you can muster even more, I think that is the key to success. So So do that. Thank you very much, Dania. Guys,
Thanks, Thomas.
he's on Slack, so if you want to reach him, he has a Slack handle. I know that you're open to answering questions and stuff like that, Dania. So go ahead and do that. And again, awesome. I would say that let's unmute ourselves and give Dania a round of applause. Okay.
Thanks. Thank you very much, guys. One last note. So for the seniors coming out, once you get out and you feel quite confident, the company I work with recruits on a weekly basis because we buy new companies almost every 2 weeks or every month. So they recruit on a weekly basis. If you're confident that you can give it a shot, reach out and I'll share to you opportunities and links for you to go through the recruitment process anytime.
That's great news, Dania. Thank you very much. Very generous of you. I will take you up on that. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.